So I went back to the data, I went back to my clients, and I recognized the key points that I actually helped them with. And the data came back to that $80 million plus in revenue. It came from my coaching. It came from my storytelling. It came from my psychology-driven strategies that nobody else talks about. It came from a speaker ecosystem that leads to sales at the end of the day. It was a whole ecosystem that lit me up on fire. Clearly, because I'm here today.
Hey everyone, it's Tamara Thompson with Broadcast Your Authority, and I'm super grateful for our next guest who actually flew in this morning from Scottsdale. And I'm going to have my co-host Caitlin introduce her. Caitlin?
I am so excited to have Andrea Merrill here with us. She is such a special individual, and boy, does she have a story. Andrea Merrill can be seen on CNN. She is a storytelling speaker and monetization coach who helps heart-centered speakers turn their stories into profits. With over 20 years of experience, a master's degree in psychology of behavior, Andrea's strategies have generated, wait for it, $80 million in revenue for her clients. Get ready for her signature blend of bold coaching, stage magic, and strategies that convert applause into revenue after the mic drops. So I have had the privilege of personally getting to know Andrea over the course of this year, and she has such an amazing backstory. Andrea, I'm so glad to have you here. Tell us a little bit about how this business was born and how you became this amazing boss business lady that you are today.
Can you please follow me everywhere and introduce me? Like, that would be amazing.
She's an awesome co-host.
Awesome.
Excellent.
The way that I got started is I like to call a serendipitous opportunity, but so many others would not agree. And let me dive deeper into that. I used to be a behavior and trauma therapist for high-profile cases in Arizona. So I worked with the ones that you would see on CNN, that you would see in documentaries. I have non-disclosures, like all of those hard cases that really touch our heart. Now, I absolutely love doing this. Not only did I work with the victims, I also work with the perpetrators. But come 2018, I started having severe migraines and they couldn't figure out what was wrong. Process of elimination, they took out my birth control and I ended up pregnant with my 5th child. Yay! Surprise! Well,
Go mom.
Come to find out, pregnancy actually makes what I was diagnosed with worse. So I was diagnosed with papilledemia, pseudotumor cerebri. So essentially, I have a benign tumor that sits on my brain and pushes on my eyes and causes severe migraines. And pregnancy makes it worse by almost causing me to be blind. Well,
with 4 other children and a full-time job.
Yep, with a full-time job that is very strenuous, that I was the go-to expert on everything. So if you got your child taken away, I would have to teach for you to get your child back. Like, the court system would make you come see me and we would have to work through parenting exercises, in-depth therapy, the whole 9 yards. So it was very crazy. I also work with the perpetrators in the prison system as well. So goes to show how much I love psychology. Well, 20 weeks pregnant, my appendix ruptured. Wow. It was crazy. I ended up in the hospital. They told me I was crazy. I was on a morphine drip. They actually told me that I happened to be addicted to drugs. I'm like, there is nothing in my line of my work, who I've been, anything, right? Like, this is crazy. thank God for an amazing nurse that was there that said, hey, you should really get an MRI and a CAT scan. You should not leave, because the doctor was actually signing me to be discharged. And I'm on a morphine drip. Like, I'm in so much pain.
And pregnant.
And pregnant. And I went in, had this procedure done, right? I went, had the CAT scan done. By the time that I got out, the helicopter was out. I had to be airlifted out. It had ruptured and caused an infection inside of my stomach that had seeped almost into my baby. And this was so critical and life-threatening. That's exactly what it was. It was now a life-threatening procedure. So I go, I have this done. I'm thinking, awesome, we've hit it. It's gone. Nope, it was not gone. I spent 3 months in and out of the hospital, had to have a drain placed, caught MRSA, went into preterm labor. Whatever could go wrong went wrong. Let me say, I still had 4 small children. They were not young at the time. My husband was a correctional officer, couldn't work any more hours in the day. I couldn't work at this point. I had to put in my notice. Okay, baby, I'm out for not even a week. My water breaks. Awesome. A month early. Come on, guys.
Yeah.
I haven't even had time to get ready for my baby. I go in, they tell me I'm crazy. I'm like, this is 5 kids. This is my 5th. I know when my water broke. So I had to walk around, come to find out water broke, had the baby, came home. This is where the good stuff gets even better. My house was in foreclosure. My HOA was auctioning off my home, which I didn't even know was a thing. Like, what is happening? And then it's over 120 degrees in Arizona. Our water gets turned off. I was devastated. I had this POS van that did not work. I had no AC, so I couldn't bring my new baby with me. I have PTSD, postpartum depression. I was really struggling, and the hits kept on hitting. So I cried all the way to the water company, and I had no idea how I was going to turn it on. Guys, I still have no idea how I got it turned on, but I did. And on the way home, I was like, okay, Andrea, it's time to get ready, because we are not going to be sorry for ourselves. This is not what we do. I put on a podcast and I said, I'm going to start a business. So on the way home, listen to that podcast. I built my website on my iPhone 8. I built my brand on my iPhone 8. And within the first 7 days of business, I landed $12,500. And the rest has been history. And here we are 6 years later.
Does anyone else have goosebumps?
That's a great story. What a comeback story.
Yeah, I wasn't going to be defeated. I wasn't going to be pulled down, and it didn't matter. Again, we're not a product of our environment. I come from poverty. I come from emotional, physical, sexual, and emotional abuse. And I was never going to allow that to define who I am. And now I've been hit with such a big challenge, and I was going to take it head on. And that was not ever going to be my story.
So how did you get that first client? Because I think a lot of people think about.
Well, I want to know, first off, how did you determine what that business was that first week?
That's a good one. So during my pregnancy, I had a friend who had a CBD company. And I was really bored. And she's like, hey, do you know anything about SEO, branding, website design? I was like, yes, I do. Did I? No. I had no
yes.
freaking
Say
idea.
yes to success. Say yes to success.
Yeah. It was like, if I can do this, if I have a master's degree, I can figure it out. So what I did was I did everything and everything for her. I did her website. I did her brand because I actually was hiring out for her, finding experts to do this. And I was like, these experts weren't following through. Well, if you're not going to do it, well, then I'm not going to wait for you and I'm going to take a stab at it. Again, from my iPhone 8. They literally loved my brand more than the brand designer that I was outsourcing to who had finally came through. So we ditched all of that. And I was like, you know what? I am smart. I just created such amazing things. Like, here we go. So I figured I would do trial and error. Like, why not test out all the things and see what I truly love to do? Well, we launched everything and she landed a $1 million client.
Wow. There's the mic drop.
There's the mic drop. And I thought on the way home from that podcast, if I could do it for her, I can do it for other people. And I wasn't going to let it stop me. So that is where I figured, okay, I'm going to hone in. I'm going to be a brand website designer and SEO strategist, and I'm going to go all in on this because the riches are in the niches.
So back to Caitlin's point, though, that was basically like coming in to do that. And then how did you decide like what that price point was? You're like,
yeah,
I need a price point that helps, save the house, save the family, you just had a baby, like all these things that were going on in your head. Like, how did you determine that value worth in the beginning before you started playing?
That was actually really hard as we experience as entrepreneurs and business owners. A lot of us wonder, how much can we charge? And we undervalue because we don't take into account our previous experiences. It's like, oh, we started a new business, so we're new. Guys, we are not new.
Preach, sister. Love that.
Not new at all. We have experiences. I had 20 years under my belt. I had a master's degree. Like, I've had 3+ degrees. Like, come on. So I went through that imposter syndrome around that. So what happened was I actually undercharged and I was trying to charge $1,500 for a brand website design SEO. I couldn't close not one client. I then boosted up my price to $5,000 and I get it done in a week. I landed 3 clients. Like, whoa.
Well, you up your value and then they take you more seriously.
They do.
Yes.
Way seriously, because, excuse me, if you are showing up to a discovery call, to a fit call, and you are sharing your knowledge, your credibility, and your experience, and they're going to be like, but wait, you're charging that much? There is like, that doesn't connect the dots. So we are literally undervaluing our own selves and putting a huge block in our success.
So from there, let's fast forward for a bit on that piece of it. So you had all these things going on. You're like, I'm determined, I'm taking action. And then you evolved your business over the years to do something that you're extremely passionate about at this point. Yeah. When did you figure out that next step of what you currently do? And can you share with our audience what that looks like today?
Ooh, this is so good. I built my business to $250,000.
Woohoo!
Yeah. I absolutely loved it. And then I burnt it to the ground.
Yeah. I think some people need to do that, though, to learn.
I literally thought, what I am doing every day, yes, I'm bringing success to my clients, but am I happy? And I wasn't happy. I was missing out on the things that brought me joy. I was no longer excited to work anymore. And I realized, what value am I actually bringing when I show up to my clients? So I burnt it down over a year ago, and I was like, I am no longer doing this. And I went back to my psychology degree. It is ingrained in me. It is I can feel it in my bones when I talk. You ever feel that and you have those goosebumps and those chills? And I was like, this is what I am meant to do. Not only that is I went back to the numbers. I wanted to go back to analytics. I'm an analytic junkie, especially in my degree. It's of applied behavioral analysis. It's all based off of statistics and what you are doing that is measurable success.
You're now speaking Chris's language.
Yeah, I was just going to say, we're all about the data. I was like,
Her
Chris is
too.
about the
Yeah.
data.
She's the spreadsheet gal.
Yes, because if we don't look at the numbers, then we're just guessing. It's like throwing
100%.
spaghetti at the wall and hoping that it sticks. And I realize, granted, my clients love their branding, they love their website, they love SEO, but it's like crickets afterwards. They're like, what do I do next?
Mhm.
Well,
And
it's almost similar to having like a lot of times in that type of industry, it might be like a one-off project, or
Yeah.
and they're like, well, how do you move it into a subscription model? How can you turn that into a reoccurring, revenue stream with that type of? And you can,
Yeah.
but like sometimes people will need additional support. But if you're not passionate about it, if you're not happy, why stick with that? So
That's it. And I couldn't provide that. I literally was like, I don't want to do this for you. No. So know what you want to do, because that's what drives real results and real success, and also makes things easy.
you found the best part of entrepreneurship when you're a founder.
Yeah.
You have that point in life where you don't say yes to success. You actually say no to the things that don't serve you.
That's it. And I had to learn that. And I thought if I was saying no, that it was like, oh, I wasn't going to be successful and I wasn't going to be who I ultimately wanted to be in that vision, mission, values that I have. So I went back to the data. I went back to my clients, and I recognized the key points that I actually helped them with. And the data came back to that $80 million plus in revenue. And I recognize where that came from. It came from my coaching. It came from my storytelling. It came from my psychology-driven strategies that nobody else talks about. It came from a speaker ecosystem that leads to sales at the end of the day. It wasn't just a one and done, and this is what you have, and then here you go. It was a whole ecosystem that lit me up on fire. Clearly, because I'm here today.
Well, and we were talking about this yesterday, that especially with the evolution of AI and technology and the age of the machine, it's never been more important for business owners specifically to focus on the soft skills of their companies, of their ecosystem, and of their brand, to make sure that AI isn't going to be taking over their revenue. So I think you're spot on. It's so timely.
Yeah. Love AI. Think AI is amazing. We need to jump on that bandwagon, but also we have to understand our ICA. We have to understand what's profitability, what is those services that you're going to offer, and how much are they? So it's so important to dive deep into who you are serving so that you can storytell to then make hundreds of thousands of millions of dollars from your stage.
Can you tell us a little bit more about how you help your clients with sharing that memorable story that they can, attract people to their audience?
Yeah. I think a lot of people miss out on, I call it my Mike framework. So we have our memorable story that many people forget about. We forget that we want to, as you can tell, everything that I've been saying is with a story. It causes lean in moments. And if you don't have lean in moments and you're just teaching, then you are never going to move your person from just somebody listening to a buyer. We're not just talking to talk, right? We are talking to build business, and we are talking for others to see the hero in their own journey. That's why each and every one of you are able to come up with these amazing questions, because it's like, hey, I want to know more. How can I see myself in this journey to then lead into sales? And that's ultimately what we're doing. So we have that memorable story. We have the inspirational story. And then we also have the conversions that happen at the end. So what I like to do is I really like to go back to, again, I was a behavior and trauma therapist. I bring my therapy into everything that I do. We have to go back to childhood. We have to go through the moments and the key pivotal moments that you have had that has led you to where you are today, because you each have a story, whether you believe it or not, within you. It doesn't have to be this wild, traumatic story that I have. Each person has a story that your listener can become the hero in that story.
Have you had, and that's a good point that you've made right there, because I think a lot of people come into working with, speaker coaches, storyteller coaches, and a lot of people come in and they'll say like, well, I don't have a traumatic story like you, Tamara. Like, you have a very resilient story. I was like, but you said it right there. You do not need to have a traumatic story. What is the story that brought them into that origin story of why they want to do what they do? And so I'm sure you have people that come to you that probably say that as well. What do you tell them?
Yeah. Literally yesterday, I met with a client and she goes, Andrea, I don't have a story. And I was like, oh, you don't?
You're like, let me fix that.
Okay.
I got this.
Let's start
dive
talking.
in.
Let's start talking. So I was like, you know what? Why do your clients even come to you? Why do they need you? What experiences led you to where you are today? Well, come to find out, when she was a little girl, her mom told her that she needed to be quiet. This is being respectful back in our day, right? It's a sign of respect. Being quiet, again, that closes our voice, that allows us to no longer speak out. Well, within that, she started getting bullied at a young age. Excuse me, is bullying traumatic? Yeah. Yeah, I would say so. Yeah. So it was really interesting to hear how all of this came up. So not only was her voice silenced as a child, she was also bullied growing up. And then now she struggles with relationships with her family, that again, she's scared to put out any story because she thinks it's going to affect her relationships.
How quickly did you help her determine that?
Oh, within like 10 minutes.
I love this.
Yeah.
I love this.
Yeah.
This is so cool. Like, so you also help your clientele, like once you've determined that story, you help go through this whole program and coaching process with them to really determine that. When they're going through and you're helping them create that, you also teach them a little bit about how when they present from the stage, your main thing is about having the audience come back for more. Can you kind of dive into how that structure works and maybe share like a success story in that realm?
Yeah, it's a sticky audience, like I like to call it. It's one that sticks with you long after the mic drops. If you have stories and moments like that and you become the hero, again, for me, I've had my voice silenced. I can absolutely relate to her. I think that was a pivotal moment that she really understood. I also work with her on her NLP techniques. So I was the perfect client to be like, excuse me, my ears are perking up. But again, a good listener. So when you get on stage and you give those stories, we're now getting into the hearts and minds of your ideal audience. So a lot of people teach ICA as in, how old are they? Who are they? what is like, how many kids do they have? Like the whole range, right? I get into the psychodemographics and the psychographics. So we're getting into the hearts and minds of your ideal audience.
Which is what makes people buy.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. And which causes sticky audiences.
I love that term.
Because they see themselves as the hero in your story. It's not about you. Guys, it is not about you. Your story isn't about you. How great it is. I know we worked through it, but it's not about you. It's about your person in the audience seeing themselves as the hero and also seeing how they can transpire and become exactly what you are offering.
Well, and I think we all need people to aspire to be. We all need people to look up to. And I think as a speaker, business owners have this unique opportunity to inspire people to be better through what they're offering and help people buy and step into that hero story. And you help dial that up and bring that out in people, which is what I love. I know you've helped me too. So
yeah. Oh, I love
Is there like
that.
a formula that you've created so that the story doesn't sound too much, like so that you're not making yourself that hero of the story? I feel like there's like a fine line where you're trying to show people how to overcome a tragedy or something like that.
Yeah.
And then it can sound like you are the hero, which is what you don't want to do. Like, what is the formula that you've created that shows your clients how to master that technique?
Yeah. So when we start off, recently I did a keynote with a client. We wrote this out, started with a visualization, helping them recognize where they are today to where we want them to be. We then went into her story. Well, her story was her telling it as a third person. This is the little girl. This is who I want to tell you about. And then it was, hey, I'm Andrea Merrill. And little did you know that little girl was me. So then we see, okay, we've seen what she went through. She went through 13 different specialists to get to where she needed to be in her health journey. Then we got into the teachings. So I love teaching, but there is a fine line that you need to hit when it comes to teaching. So if you are teaching, you then need to tell a story around the teaching. So what did your client experience? What transformation did they see? Because then they see themselves as that hero. They become the client that you worked with. So let's say you have 3 key points. You then teach, you give a story, and then you dive back into your teachings, and then you're giving another story, and then you're closing out. So we're then wrapping it all together. And then we're inviting them to, hey, if this is something that you truly need help and support in, I've actually created this amazing guide for you that I am so excited to share with you. So we're now inviting them. We're not hard pitching or hard selling to them, because who here likes to be sold to? I know I don't like to be hard sold to, but I like to know that you are going to transform and change my life. And if you've shown this through your talking, then I'm absolutely 100% in.
Well, you've built this rapport with people through your conversation, through your talk, and then they're able to trust you, but you're also sharing results, right?
Exactly.
And so they're like, okay, well, she's got a proven track record. Here's, this information that's based on education. Here's a story where I feel emotionally connected to this person. And then here's, an offer, but through those storytelling, usually some sort of success story on that side. That's what I've seen. And I know, like with our sales team and things like that, like you walk them through this customer experience journey, right?
Yes.
You're going to show results. You're going to show certain things, but you're also listening, they're listening to you from the stage first. And then, of course, those that are sharing those stories are normally extremely passionate about it once they found their niche.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's about loving on the audience and making them a part of it. That is a really big thing that I think is a huge takeaway that people miss out on, is they don't engage with the audience and they don't have the audience engage back with them. And you could do that from a big audience.
100%.
And you experienced that with me.
Yeah.
I brought you in. That's the whole point. And guess what? After that, I closed 5 clients. I got payments at an event that we went to, and I was only the MC. So again, it's about bringing them in, making them feel emotionally connected, and also connecting on the different levels on psychological profiles that you can think about as well too, because we need to get into the amygdala.
I think that might be one of the reasons why people are so reluctant to tell their story, is because they're worried that they're not going to connect with that audience, right? Well, like we've all heard the story or the saying that people do business with those that they know, like, and trust. And so if you look out into an audience and you are like, well, these people are nothing like me, how are they ever going to accept me and hear what I have to say? Like, how do you overcome that? And I'm sure that there's some limiting beliefs in that as well, if you're thinking that and you can't tell your story because of that. But again, going back to the formula, because I think you got it nailed. How do you overcome that kind of barrier, so to speak?
Yeah, I think it's a fear factor that we put in ourselves, and we are our own worst enemy. We hold ourselves back. Come on, there's imposter syndrome. I had it before I came on here. Let me be honest. I was like, am I good enough to be on here? Am I good enough to speak? And then I hear myself speaking and I'm like, who's that girl? Yes.
Love the confidence, girl.
It's about building that confidence. And also, those people haven't figured out their story. They haven't had somebody pull it out and say, hey, your story matters just as much as your audience's story matters. The clients that you work with on a daily basis that you absolutely pour into, you don't think there's a story there? You don't think that there's a reason why you became that expert in the first place? And also, we need to get over the fear of sharing our own stories. Our own stories matter so much. We need imperfect action. I had imperfect action actually in here today, and I fell in love with it. And I have actually tattooed on me perfectly imperfect, because I will be 100% honest. Nobody in the audience wants perfect. And if you put perfect out there, you are not closing clients that same day, and you will have a very hard time closing clients. So the sauce, the secret sauce is share your hard times. Nobody wants perfectionism. That's why I share what I've been through, because it's not perfect. It's hard. And was it hard for me to come out and say these things? Come on, my house was in foreclosure. I had no money. I have 4, now 5 children at home. Water's cut off. I'm embarrassed. I'm ashamed. But look at how far I've come to make a different story for myself. But there is somebody out there that needs to hear that story, and we can't hold it in, because, guys, I'm going to be honest, if you're a speaker and you're not sharing these details, you're being selfish.
So powerful.
Yeah, I could talk on this topic all day. Unfortunately, we have to wrap up this episode, but I'm so grateful that you took the time to fly in here today on this episode. You are an incredible human being, an incredible woman, and anybody that works with you, they should be fully grateful for that opportunity. Could you share with our audience a little bit about how they can connect with you, work with you? Tell us something that you're excited about.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. So, guys, you can find me at Virtually Adventurous, which is actually shifting because I have been hiding behind my brand for 6 years. And we are no longer hiding, as you've heard today. So it will be Andrea Merrill Co. And you can find me everywhere. My go-to place is Instagram and LinkedIn. And what I am so excited about right now is my Sell from the Stage Mastery Program, which is 6 months long, but you get, oh my gosh, you get so much from that. You get speakers that I bring in, experts, and you get a lot of time and attention with me to get your speaker brand up and running to its fullest.
I love that. Thank you so much. We'll make sure to put all your social media handles, your contact information. I'm so proud of you and the stories that you've been able to share and be vulnerable with our audience today. And those of you that are resonating with this show, be sure to comment, subscribe, let us know what you thought about this episode. And I'm excited to see you in the next one.